Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amna Khan. I am instructional designer at UOES, and I will be the moderator for this session. On behalf of the 2025 Rutgers University Online Learning Conference, I welcome Jennifer Castledine Brock, University faculty in the Department of Social Sciences at Purdue Global, Ashley Leininger, University faculty in Department of Social Sciences, and Tyra Hallpoger, who's not here yet, but we're waiting, Department Chair for Department of Professional Studies. We are very pleased to have them share their thoughts on humanizing the classroom by building connections with students in an online environment. During the presentation, please engage using the live chat section on the right-hand panel with any questions and comments. And with that, I hand it over to our presenters.
All right, thank you. Okay, so next. All right. So I've been reading a book called Generous Thinking, and I wanted you can see the quote on the screen, but it's a quote near the end of Kathleen Fitzpatrick's book, Generous Thinking: A Radical Approach to Saving the University. So the quote for me serves as a springboard for thinking through concrete examples of ways we can work to engage with students, colleagues, and our communities in ways that align with this mission. So the quote, this is, you can see it, but I'll read it. This is generous thinking, listening to one another, recognizing that we have as much to learn as we do teach, finding ways to use our collective knowledge for the public good. From the broadest rethinking of our political and institutional landscape to developing new ways to working in public, to sharing our ways of reading, which she writes about, to focusing on the most intimate practice of listening at each level. We must be connected to, fully part of the world around us. And the university has the potential to model a more generous public sphere, but only if each of us, and everyone who cares about the future of higher education, takes up the charge. So this is kind of my guiding light for my part of the presentation. So how can we do this in the classroom? And that's something I've been thinking seriously about lately. And so I've got some ways I'm working towards this goal. I'd love to know what you're doing or what you think about this too. So in the classroom, one of the things I've been doing is encouraging and modeling intellectual humility, right? I'm trying to normalize saying I don't know, or explaining how I used to mispronounce a philosopher's name because I would read it in a book but not actually know how to pronounce it. And as an educator, it sometimes does feel like we should know more than we do, but right, we're just a specialist in our little field. And it's kind of nice to say I don't know. Folks are often afraid to admit they don't know something or admit when they are wrong, but there are studies that demonstrate people tend to be more trusted when they're transparent about what they don't know, or when they admit their mistakes. So especially, social media, which kind of surprised me a little bit, but we've probably all seen that in the classroom, that's a way to make a connection, to kind of not put ourselves on a pedestal. Creating trust in the classroom can lead to stronger classroom community, encourage students to ask questions, and have them ask questions rather than always asking them to provide answers. For instance, I sometimes ask students to share one unanswered question they have about the material. And this approach can help students become more aware of their thinking, below the surface level stuff, while also it gives them more control over the direction of the conversation. And we know self efficacy relates to retention rate. So the more they can learn and think through, it develops critical thinking skills, and it also has that practical component. All right, next. All right, so, and this is once again from the Generous Thinking book. Some key components of generous thinking: collaboration, inclusivity, and human connection. So Fitzpatrick writes about the value of collaboration over competition, and she's writing mostly about tenure schools, which at Purdue Global, it's not a tenure based thing. So I found it tends to be more collaborative. But this idea that competition, we're really not working together, we're really not hearing each other. We may not There may not be as many rewards for engaging in the community and that sort of thing. And so that's where she's thinking about changing it. And she writes critical humility is one key to generous thinking. In the early days of This is a quote. In the early days of working on this project, I gave an invited talk in which I tested out some of its core ideas. In the question and answer period that followed, one commentator pointed out what he saw as a canny move on my part in talking about generosity. No one wanted to be seen as an ungenerous jerk in disagreeing with me. It was a funny moment, but it gave me real pause. I did not intend to use generosity as a shield to which to fend off the possibility of critique. Generosity, in fact, remains requires remaining open to criticism, not least because, as Alan Jacobs pointed out, someone who pays close enough attention to show me where I've gone wrong is being generous to me, end quote, right? So how do we do this? Right? So thinking through this, some of the ways I do, I might send rough drafts to some of my colleagues at work, ask for help when I need it, just do anything I can to create a more collaborative environment. Always give credit where credit's due. I'm the faculty advisor for the philosophy club at Purdue Global, and I sometimes share work that's not been completely polished up. And I let students know, hey, this is not polished up. I've still got a lot of questions. This is what I'm working on. What do you think about this? Right. And it's all a way of building these collaborative skills. I encourage students and faculty to share their burgeoning ideas at the Philosophy Society. And it's a safe place to test out our ideas, to ask those questions, to kind of have that feeling of spontaneity where we don't always know where the conversation is going to lead. So hopefully this process, it's meant to be collaborative, inclusive, and create human connections. Right. Next. Okay. Another thing, and this was a collaborative project. We found a service learning fellowship program at our university to be helpful. Now we've just been starting working on this the last year or so, and we're building it up from the ground up. So, uh, but there are passionate people collaborating to hopefully create a successful program. And there have been so many different ways. I mean, I could talk about John Raxter that helped me think about how to incorporate his idea of just getting students to think about service learning in critical thinking. And he was very generous with sharing his work with me. A colleague, Susan Farabee, she said, let's build a database of remote learning service learning opportunities. And she facilitated a student led web page design around our ACES program. A mathematician, Mary Bruce, right? She asked, how do we quantify whether our program is truly access? She drew our attention to research about contact theory, which is a framework for designing service learning courses that will show uh, prejudice and stigma reduction. So, this theory includes conditions of equal status contact, pursuit of common goals, intergroup cooperation, long term contact, opportunities for personal reflection, and addressing affective states. So, what we're trying to do is we have the philosophers, me, but with foundation, we have people in all kinds of different departments with their gifts. Mary, who does quantitative research, which is not my strong suit, right? And we work collaboratively together and share our strengths together. So, and these are just a few of the service learning fellows work that are collaborative. So we're working across disciplines, including like work studies. Instead of being siloed, right? And I can remember times where I was very much siloed. It's kind of fun to work collaboratively to achieve this goal. Okay, next. Okay. So seeking out ways to reach out to our community. I live in Indiana, and in Indiana, there just happens to be a fantastic alliance that works with all local universities that are a part of this. And the goal is to grow these deeper connections between Indiana communities and higher education. So, one of the things I've been thinking through are what unique gifts can remote students bring to help local organizations, right? A lot of times, a lot of times there have been um, people that and I've done that too. They go work in the community, do service learning projects. When I was working on the ground, right, in a like brick and mortar school, I would send students out to a wetlands, for example, or to a homeless shelter, and we would do projects there. So it's kind of a shift in an online environment. But one of the things I have learned is that that it can be helpful, right? To think about how it can help geographically for students that live maybe in rural areas, or people that have childcare issues or don't have large chunks of time to work on things. So those are some of the things we're trying to think: how can they bring their gifts and skills from all around the country or all around the world to help these organizations, or help, outside of the Community Engaged Alliance, help organizations other places too. So that is Community Engaged Alliance .org. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, so um, there is a link between approachability and inclusivity. Uh, Do you try to address your students in a way that makes them comfortable? Do you include examples of different ways students can contact you? How approachable are you, right? So here's a message I've just recently done, but just as kind of idea of thinking, well, how do I become, like, how do I signal approachability and inclusivity better than just thinking, oh, I'm inclusive. And so just kind of stating it, right? I know your names are a part of who you are, and I want to assure that I'm addressing each of you in a way that's most comfortable to you. What's your preferred name, nickname? Name is different than what I see on the class roster. Now, I know some learning management systems are better than others. There was some naming software once that I wanted to use, and I said, how much would it cost to use something like this? And they said, well, get your school, to we're not going to tell you a price. Right? So all right, that's, if they can't tell me a price, I know that's something I can't individually do. Now, Canvas, one of the things I learned in Canvas is you can go into the grade book and notes, and add notes and put phonetic spellings or nicknames there, and just keep that open while you're doing a grade book. But if I'm not using Canvas, I use sticky notes. I don't know about you, sticky notes in my office for the semester, where I have things phonetically spelled out. So when I'm engaging with students in the seminar, hopefully I pronounce their name correctly. But another thing I tell them is, even when I have things up phonetically or whatever, I can still screw it up. And so correct me. I like to be corrected. This is a good thing, because I want, we all want to get it right. So, and pronouns, you can share if you want. You don't have to share what you want, right? We respect privacy and choices. And you can meet with me via phone, Zoom, or Google Meet by appointment, and just let them know. I send out midterm letters saying, hey, how's it going? And the Zoom session drop-ins have not been working out that well for me. It might be a timing issue, but the midterm letters do. I have a lot of students say, thanks for reaching out. Here's how it's going. So anything we can do um, to really address inclusivity, that is part of generous thinking as well. Well, let me see one moment. Yeah. So okay, next slide, please. And so now we're down to the importance of human connection. And for me, it's got to be authentic, right? It can't be just phoning it in. And so the extra time I spend with the members of the Philosophy Society, It just, I was reading something from Slow Professor, and we're all fast paced, right? There's not a lot of slow time, but Philosophy Society is that slow time for me. And here's a quote from Slow Professor: "It's neither frivolous nor incidental that to ensure that we enjoy ourselves in the classroom, it may be crucial to creating an environment in which students learn." Now, me personally, I'm always energized after the Philosophy Society meetings. Students tell me they feel energized too. The last meeting we had was supposed to be an hour. I think it went an hour and a half, and I just let everybody go. Um, but right, that's an energizing thing when a seminar goes past the deadline. Um, and so the authors of Slow Professor, they believe teaching in a physical classroom is better than a virtual classroom. But I'm always mindful of how many students tell me, "Hey, Jennifer, I wouldn't even be in school if there wasn't an online classroom." So if that's the case, okay, what are ways we can provide as many opportunities to our amazing online students that are juggling work, family, school, all kinds of things all the time? How do we provide as many opportunities for them as possible, and so they can take the ones that they can take, right? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and then I'm always on the lookout for ways to expand student opportunities without incurring cost to our university, right? That is sweet when you can do that. So here's one fun way of doing it. You just go to unifyamerica.org. I don't even think you have to type in College Bowl. And I found out this through a deliberative democracy retreat. It's an organization that works to bring students together to discuss, quote, conversations against differences. And they have a couple times a year a deep dive session where it's one topic for an hour with another student. And then the College Bowl, they talk about, different things at a quick pace. And the opportunity is free to the organization. I went through Purdue Global and said, "Hey, is this okay?" And they looked into it. But they provide the toolkits to advertise the event. It goes through Zoom. There is no third party software, so there's none of the privacy concerns or anything like that. I haven't had too many students sign up for it, but I've just really started it. So I've had, I think, 8 students that signed up for it. But the ones that have participated self report that it was a meaningful experience. I had a student that signed up for it a second time, so that's always good. Um, and, talking to the organizers of Unify America, you get private schools, you get public institutions, you get all kinds of different people from around the country. And this doesn't usually happen, but I was told there was a student from Florida and a student from Alaska that did the College Bowl, and they became friends afterwards, and they even went on a vacation, I think, to Colorado together. So once again, just kind of even setting up the possibility of networking in an online environment is an opportunity for students that doesn't cost us anything, just a little bit of time. And anybody, any university can do it, as far as I understand, for free. So then I was just going to ask, but we'll go on to the next, folks. What are ways you work to increase human connection in the classroom and beyond? So thank you, and take it away, Ashley.
All right. So other ways of connection. When Jennifer actually came up to Tyra and I and said, can we do this together? And um, so we have our own different takes. So Jennifer is a philosopher. I'm a sociologist. And what I have found that the tools of connection on an online classroom vary so much according to your discipline, according to your background and your own experiences. But online environments, they don't have to be one-sided. It doesn't have to be just the instructor talking at you, or you don't have to just have the students like do the flip classroom and the students just talk at you, right? It can be a very much communicative and a very large community, a social community, a networking community. We don't necessarily have cohorts, but students can get together still and follow each other on the journey. A lot of times, you'll see that in online classrooms or any online environment at all, that there are social groups that form. They are reflective of the environment. One article I read when I was working on a different paper about online interactions and social worlds was Poor et al. And what they had found is that in the idea of an online learning environment. It was EverQuest 2, the game EverQuest 2. It's um, a massive multi online player game, a role playing game. And what it happened was that a parent reached out in the community forums and said, "Hey, my child is has terminal cancer, and all he wants to do is play in a carnival." This always chokes me up. And so, what he found is that the social group there actually created and bought different things in the game, so the child could have a carnival, and could play in this carnival environment online with a bunch of other people, which was it's a beautiful thing that there is a community. People still care. Even on an online community and our classrooms, we can show care and concern for our students, and our students can get a greater relationships built upon there as well. And even leadership can be learned through actions. We can learn how to lead. Our students learn how to lead with critical thinking skills, having a environment where they feel that they can speak up, that they are safe from speaking up, that they can talk, that they can have discourse and it's okay, that it's a safe environment to do so. This is how education was started way back with, I mean, hopefully Jennifer, you can agree with me, but way back, Aristotle was this whole idea of discourse and sitting down and talking back and forth and having these critical thinking skills with case studies, or just say, okay, I don't quite understand this. Think of all the other ways that we can go about things. um, Another way is, we embrace different modes of connection through different media, different social environments. Our students have different social environments. They have different pastimes, different hobbies. And we can share these. We can connect with our students through um our own interests, our own hobbies. One of the things I'm like, hey guys, I'm a gamer, and people laugh sometimes. But I'm like, look, I grew up in the age where gaming was still cool. Consoles just came out, type of thing, when I was a child, to age myself a bit. But I will say that, hey, what games do you play? Do you enjoy those? And we'll talk about them, and we'll talk about, oh yeah, I'll make jokes here and there, of yeah, the cake was a lie, and people are like, "Oh, you played Portal." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry for giving the spoiler there, but yeah, I have." And that you can show that your connections can vary from student to student. Maybe it's they love gardening. I love gardening too. I have an orchard in my backyard that I put in 2020. I've got over 26 fruit trees now, and bushes and blueberries and all of those things, and so we can connect on those. Safe environments are so important for critical thinking to occur. Who wants to speak up and say something if they feel like they're going to be ridiculed or they're going to be treated poorly for their ideas and their opinions? And so we need to make sure that in online environments, to foster the community, we need to make sure that it is safe, that it's safe for everyone, that there is a mutual respect that goes on. I tell my students all the time, when any term starts in every seminar, I'm like, okay, this might be a hot topic today. So just look at it as everybody's coming from a good place. If they say something that might offend you, don't take it personally. Find out more, ask questions, help them think differently, and not just say you must think this way. This is the way it is. It's more of a, oh, why do you think this? Well, have you ever thought of X, Y, and Z? How does this affect all these other things in your life, type of thing? And the students have been very receptive to that. And just to show that, look, we are all human, we all make mistakes. And as Jennifer pointed out, it's good to be able to say, I don't know. And if I don't know something, I'll say, I don't know, and go, here, maybe I can get you some resources that might be able to answer that question better than I can. There are courses that we teach and subjects that we teach that we might not be 100% in. I'm not 100% into public policy and civic engagement. I'm very much have a very strong background in civic engagement, but not necessarily public policy. And so when there's questions that come up of certain bills that go through and how it happens, I'm like, I'll let you know. I'll think about it. I'll let you know. My background is in sociology of religion, attitudes, and morality. And so that's my strong suit. And in sociology. And so there are going to be questions that come up that you just don't know, that you're not the expert in. But that's also where you can reach out and ask for help, or ask a student, say, hey, I'm not quite sure of this. What do you think? I know that you have talked about this topic before. What are your thoughts on this? And engage them within the classroom that way. We need open forums in order to protect ideas, or the creativity of ideas as well. And so we can do this through connecting with our students. Adding the personal touches. Okay. Um, to connect with your student, add personal touches within your seminar. Add them within how you talk about things, how you act in discussion posts. Add some photos. Add personality. I get pretty excited about things that I talk about, and so I am very usually very excited about it. Very animated. I talk with my hands a lot, and my students really like that personality, because when it shows through how excited you are about the topic, how it shows how excited you are to learn from them as they are from you, it makes the information stick. It makes them recall it better and very fondly, right? Share hobbies with other students, share hobbies with each other. Maybe in seminar, hey, in the first 5 minutes, you can say, hey, let's talk about a hobby. What's your hobby? Oh, I like to read. What kind of books do you like to read? How about, is there any favorite ones? Can you have a suggestion of a good book? Um, and show interest in the individuals. Show interest in what they're saying. Show interest in what they're doing. Even if you don't understand, ask questions. Oh, that's really cool. You're part of the philosophy club, Jennifer. That's awesome. Um, what are some of the topics that you talk about? What are some of the discussion points that you talk about? When does it happen? When does it occur? How do I do these things? Right? So show interest in what they're doing, because they show interest in you by showing up to class too, right? They show interest in the degree, but they show interest in learning. By just being there, they have shown a vested interest in their learning. So be inspiring. Share some of your struggles. Um, share some of your personal stories. Be inspiring. When we talk about things such as socioeconomic class, or talk about homelessness, I share with my students, you know what? It's not always easy. Sometimes you're down and out. I lived on the streets from the time I was 16 until I was 18 years old, and I was able to find a place to live with my twin sister. So I've been there. I have been hungry. I know the junior bacon cheeseburger cost $1.04 in Iowa at the time, and I would have two of those a week with little creamers that they had for the coffee creamers. And that's what we would have to eat. And it's scary, but it also shows students, look where I am now. I am teaching college. I have a master's degree. I'm working on my dissertation, collecting data right now for it. That you can do it. There are a lot of obstacles, but don't take those barriers as you can't do this anymore. Okay. And emphasize and showcase those things that are expected of your student. Be there, be respectful, ask the questions, be humble, and say, I don't know, right? Because if you want that respect from your students and expect that from them, then it's so important to make sure that you give it back to them and that you showcase the things that matter. Be the authentic you. Don't try to fit into some box that isn't going to work. Don't try to make presentations. Don't try to talk to the students how you think a professor in this class does it. Do your own thing. Be authentic. When you're authentic, you can say what you know, and students will listen to you. You get respect that way. Keep it personal, or keep personal, but not too personal. Of course, you have to have those strong boundaries, no matter where you are, um, and be solid on those boundaries as well. But you can still share that you can encourage one another to do better, to maybe find a different solution. Encourage them to think. Um, be professional, but with character, with flair, right? With the little flare buttons. Show character. show that you're a human too. This is how we can connect to students. This is how we make the classroom human. That it is online, but we can actually give it that personality, the rationale, the thinking, even the rational decision making. Because, I mean, as we've seen, AI can't really do that very well, right? But we can do that for our students. We can encourage openness and honesty. And you can also reward traits you see as exceptional. Say, that's a really good point. Or reading through the chat, that's a really good point. So and so. I appreciate that you brought that up. As you mentioned, blah, 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 and keep going, right? Reward traits that you see as exceptional. I really appreciate that you folks have done so well on your assignment this week. There are a few things that I wanted to point out to work on, but overall, these assignments were exceptional. There was a lot of volunteer work in here. There was a lot of speaking and information, as well as some great references, and I appreciate your hard work on that. And make sure to mark them like in discussion boards. When you see something great, point it out. Because sometimes that little thing, just that one time, can make someone's entire day, week, month, year. Acknowledge things. Think about that, with mentorships. Mentor somebody. Just say, hey, check in on them, see how they're going. I've got a student currently that has moved across country and now is homeless with her child. And she's like, we're trying to get into a place. Trying to figure this out, get a shelter type of thing. But we're doing the best we can. Mentor them. Say, okay, well, let me know how I can help you with these assignments, or let me know how I can help you with the classroom, right? Give shout outs. Make sure to say, okay, this one is a great example of a paper if you guys want to look at this, or even, in the discussion boards. Oh, that's a really great point you make about this, and this, or this is a great instrumental task that you mentioned in class in the discussion boards, because it shows the culmination of family and religion and other social structures that affect your life, and how that can carry on from generation to generation. Give encouragement when people are struggling. I just don't know how to do this. I don't know how to turn something in because I just don't want to turn in something that's not perfect. Say, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to be done completely. Turn what you can in. Let me work with you. Let me see it. Let me try to guide you. What is your topic? What are you overall looking for? Well, how about you go here and you work with this? Do a step by step with them. Send out random notes when they're excelling. Send out random notes when you haven't heard from a student. Send out things saying, hey, I haven't seen you in class this week. Is there something going on? Something I can help you with? Any questions? Things like that. Show an interest in them. Okay. That includes that, as I have one down the review the students' names from term to term, you might get repeat students. So make sure you pay attention to those names. Because they'll be like, oh yeah, I had you before, and you don't want to look like you don't remember who they are. Say, oh yeah, I know who I had you in this class, and I remember I have very fond memories of you. You don't have to be specific, but at least you can remember who the students are. Some of their background, some of their what they put in their, introduction post type of thing, right? And ask them questions and follow up with them. Don't just ask a question, how are you doing, and then not following up. Or I haven't heard from you in a while, anything going on? And then forget to follow up. Because that's almost worse than not sending anything at all, right? It shows that maybe you didn't really care about them when they really needed somebody to care for them that day. Okay? So show an interest in them and add those special touches in all that you do. Even if it's just an acknowledgement, a nod, a hey, thanks for showing up. It's so great to actually see people from Purdue Global in here supporting us. So thank you for that. I will shout out for that today. But add those special touches in all you do. Because as this quote says, every morning is another chance. Make a difference, touch a heart, encourage a mind, and inspire a soul, and enjoy the day. All right. Now off to Tyra.
Sorry, great.
Yes.
Bone wanted to connect there. Technology, we can talk about technology today and how it aids us and sometimes it beds us. I am currently the department chair in professional studies. I've worked with both of these wonderful ladies and professors personally. And I wanted to kind of take this time to reflect, summarize, so that we can leave here, intentional, but also talk about how, leadership or how the university can also help the classroom. I'm also a professor, and my favorite place is to be in the classroom. I feel like I benefit. I need that humanization of the classroom for my own soul. So this topic really touches, I think, all three of us deeply. We all have gotten asked questions over the years. How do you do it online? And I say that we try to do it very mindfully, and we try to do it very well. And I think being cognitive of that is what brings us here, and that's why we're really grateful for this opportunity because it keeps us kind of our finger on the pulse, so to speak. Um, I know that you're probably hearing a lot. Being at a conference like this, it's always invigorating. It's always really inspiring, but it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's all these ideas coming in. I always say try just something small. If a professor ever comes to me, whether in a mentoring, peer, leadership type situation, you know, just focus on one little thing. Grab one thing from this talk and see if that works in your classroom. I really wanted to touch back to what Jennifer said about involving students in the process. I think that that's really key. We personally here at Purdue Global work with a lot of adult learners, and I think that that's one really important way to engage them in the classroom is really to look for, their feedback, their buy-in on the classroom. I'll touch on this continuously in the next couple of minutes. Start small, but you need to kind of collect feedback, adjust your approach accordingly, kind of circle back. All three of us, I'm a scientist, but all three of us, I think, have research in our hearts, and I think that that comes that cycle is there for us. Some things work and some things don't, and it's okay. It's okay if it does not work. Some things will work, like Ashley said, with one type of student and may not work with another type of student. But those are things that I think you have to take a moment and reflect. And we talked about it being such a busy world and we're all running around, and then technology happens, and we're just so fast paced. But if you're going to try something new, I think in any avenue of your life, you have to take a moment and reflect, right? um, and then see where you can make that next small step. If that's working, build on it. If it's not working, try something different. I think that it's okay. I tell my students, I try to remind myself, I tell my faculty, it's okay to fail, but just come back at it and try to succeed the next time, right? That's that next, put that next foot forward. Um, we work online. Obviously, many of you are familiar with the online conference and the online education system, but I think that we have to remember that technology should support and not replace that human connection. um, Jennifer and Ashley tried to provide so many different key points about that through this talk. But it is so easy to let technology just do it all. um, but again, it's something that I think we just have to be mindful of. Next slide, Ashley. See, what would I do? I can't, technology's there, but I still need that human connection, right? um, it is really important. Like I said, I'm going to come back to that student agency, creating those opportunities. I think that that's that authentic relationship, but that's that feedback and that cycle that we are trying to always encourage and create. Um, the check-ins, I love. I cannot tell you, especially in the online environment, just that moment of, "Hey, how are you doing?" I see it with peers too. Nathan said hi. That made my day, right? Hi, Nathan. Hi, Christiana. I like seeing familiar faces too. It's kind of that kind of walk by the water cooler type thing. I think going back to highlight what Ashley said, don't forget the positive check-ins. I think that we get stuck in we get stuck in the negative cycle, right? Like, if this student isn't turning in work, or this student, isn't performing well, that what do we do to help those students? Don't forget about the students that are doing well. A small pat on the back can completely change someone's life. It might have nearly broken them to get that paper in on time, or tackle a new topic and actually achieve it. And that little extra, I can't tell you how many times I've sent a "Hey, you're doing great in class, keep up the hard work" type, little check-in email, and people have like called me crying saying thank you, I you made my day. um so again, that's a great cycle, I think, to create. I hope that you appreciated how authentic Ashley and Jennifer are. They've always been two people that I have learned from and continue to learn from, because they are willing to be so open and honest and share their stories and communicate those experiences. As an instructor or as a teacher or as a professor, we're not just, these people delivering a fact. It comes with a story, hopefully. And that, I think, again, helps the students connect. I always kind of joke. It seems funny, but I don't think it truly is. When we went to online, or to cameras, right, in our classrooms, again, Ashley, I probably just aged myself as well. There was a point in time when we used to do this without cameras. Um, they were like, I remember when leadership was telling me it's not that big of a deal. No one cares that you're in a little corner over there. And, my students, they would say, "Hey, I like the new hairstyle," or "You got highlights," or "Are you sick?" Because my nose is all snotty and runny and stuffy, right? I think that brings that authenticity to the classroom, right? It's the same as when I was, teaching in a traditional classroom. I remember being pregnant with my first child and telling, my students about it. And the one student raised her hand and she goes, "I'm really glad to hear that because I thought we were going to have to tell you were gaining weight." um, I was like, that is great. Great, great advice to know. But again, I think that's that connection that we need to remember and strive for. Those stories make us chuckle. Those stories are also what, students remember too. Next slide, Miss Ashley. Again, how do you do that? Ongoing practices. These are kind of those metrics that everyone talks about at the university. You can come up with your own action plan. You can implement your own types of assessment. Um, do your own classroom audit. Those are things that you can look at. You can also measure your own success. And look at both. I would encourage you both qualitative and quantitative. It's not just how many emails you send or how many students get an A. These stories that we hear, those positive interactions, those are qualitative indicators that I know as a leader I look for in my classrooms, and I look for my faculty to have in their classrooms too. um, I still strive to want my children, or to like their teachers and like their learning environment as they go through school. I still want to have that in my classrooms as an instructor too. I want I teach, like I said, I teach science. Sometimes that's not always everyone's favorite subject. I still try to make it as palatable to everybody as possible. And the last slide, really quickly, I believe it's the last one. We have two more really quickly, as we go through.
Yep.
Just really quickly, make sure that you're including everybody in your planning. Don't do, try not to do it in isolation. Please share, continue to share out. Celebrate your small successes as you go along. And then last slide, Ashley. Lean on your support systems in your individual universities, right? This is something that you can take from your classroom, and I can encourage you to build it out, right? There's pipelines, there's professional development that you can look for, continuing engagement. So please, if you find success, do build on that and share that out with others. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. We're here for questions for the last couple of minutes. I think I have the chat.
Okay, well, I see one in the question and answer from Gregory Steinbach. What apps do you recommend to have students form appropriate social chat groups? For example, you use Remind to communicate with them, but not able to make groups for students. So I'll speak to that. I don't know what Ashley and Tyra have to say. I always check with the Center for Learning and Technology to make sure, because there's so many sneaky things with third-party software and so on, and they're the experts. But I did get permission for the students to use Discord with the Philosophy Society outside of Purdue Global. So that's the student thing, and we can't tell the students what to do, but I'm not a part of that. I don't monitor that. I just monitor our learning management system where the Philosophy Society Zoom sessions and discussion boards are.
It varies by the student. I don't necessarily tell them what they can and cannot use. I know Discord's a big one. I know I use that gaming with some of my friends, but there's also some professors I know make a Facebook page specifically for that course or that class, and then give leadership off to the students after that. But that's, I mean, it's all up to the students, really. Ask them what they use, ask them what they like. There's a group chat, there's a group me, there is a spawned that also works and does that as well. You use Slack. And then we have Shane asking if he can have the PowerPoint. Ladies, I don't mind. If you don't mind, I don't mind sending it out. Okay. I'll put my email address in the chat for you folks to email me if you'd like the PowerPoint slide, and go from there. Oh no, it's fine. We don't mind sharing. It makes us human. It humanizes our classroom, right? Oh, that's awesome. Yes, we can do that too. Yeah, that would be perfect.
And Nathan asked, can Socrates still be my hero? He was mean, but with a big heart. So yeah, we don't judge who our heroes are.
Content ethics, right? That's my go-to right now. So yes, I know. I know. All right, thank you, Shane. I'll send it out to you. He might have been Gordon Ramsay mean. I don't. You're the philosopher here, Jennifer. You help out here. I mean, yes, he was mean, but I mean,
One of the things I like about philosophy is we all have our heroes or don't like any of them or whatever. And it's just everybody bringing, like, what do you really think? And what are your best reasons? And what are the best reasons you have for liking Socrates? Or why would somebody not like Socrates? And that goes back to, we all learn from each other through those kinds of conversations. And so I'd like to know, what is it you most like about Socrates? But then I'm engaging in the Socratic method a little bit.
right?
Okay, I think we're right about at the end of session time. Thank you so very much for sharing all of this valuable information. And I'm sure our attendees really appreciate it as well. Thank you, everybody who attended. And the resources will go up in the resources folder on the left panel in the Ring Central platform. They're going in as we speak as well. And by the end of the conference, soon after that, hopefully. And also the recording of this presentation will be available after the conference up until about a year. So you can keep coming back for it. Thank you all very, very much and enjoy the rest of your night.